Local Economy, Volume 20, Number 4, 404411, November 2005. In Perspective. Cities, Regions, and Metropolitan Development Agencies. Greg Clark. www.citiesandregions.com. Introduction. Something is observably happening for cities and for metropolitan areas. Some say a new urban age is upon us. Over the past 20 years, cities and regions have become a focus for renewed efforts to promote development. The quest for effective means for cities and regions to pursue economic, physical, and social development is accelerating. This paper explores city regions or metropolitan areas as the key scale for interventions aimed at improving economic performance, development, and regeneration. The role of development agencies as an economic and/or governance tool for intervention in cities and regions, and of fostering city-regional strategies and programs. This paper draws on insights gained from attempts to deliver city-regional development approaches, development agencies, and metropolitan development agencies, and from the experience of working with over 100 city and regional development agencies, established in different and distinct contexts. Cities and regions. There are multiple reasons for the renewed focus on cities as engines of development, and the mix varies by economic and institutional context. Correspondence address, Box 60, 34, Buckingham Palace Road, London, SW10RH, UK. Email, gregclark@citiesandregions.com. ISSN 02690942 print/ISSN 14709325 online SS 2005, LEPU, South Bank University DOI, 10.1080/026909405003342112lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. Downloaded from Cities, Regions, and Metropolitan Development Agencies 405. In the upper-income countries of the developed world, there has been an increasing recognition that participation in the international economy has given rise to greater, rather than less, spatial concentration of activity, and there have been spatial variations in how growth patterns have emerged. Some cities and regions are doing better than others at attracting, fostering, and retaining growth. Cities have re-emerged as drivers of economic performance and population change at the local level. The new economy favors city locations in the way that the industrial economy favored large factory floor plates. The focus is no longer narrowly economic, or concentrated exclusively on attracting foreign investment. The attraction and retention of talented, skilled people, entrepreneurs and innovators, as well as visitors of multiple kinds, are now parallel goals for cities and regions. Cities and regions have to reorientate themselves to the end of industrial decline, the growth surge in the knowledge economy, and the new climate of trade and mobility. Reorganizing a city's transport, housing, and land uses, along with its skills base and pool of investment and entrepreneurs, are the key imperatives. Work in the UK on the Growth and Productivity Framework, 2000, has recognized that city and regional economies are influenced by the same drivers of growth as national economies. The drivers are identified as skills, entrepreneurship, employment, innovation, investment, and competition. A study undertaken by Parkinson et al., 2003, identified 6 common features of city competitiveness that appear to underpin the successful performance of the EU's most competitive non-capital cities. These 6 features were a diverse economic base, connectivity, internal and external, quality of life, skills and human capital, innovation in firms and institutions, leadership, and strategic decision-taking capacity. This study also emphasized that the key focus for many effective city strategies was the city-regional, or metropolitan, scale, where these ingredients could be most effectively brought together. The State of the Cities Report in England, 2005, identifies that size, location, and connectivity to growth poles appears to be important to productivity in cities. Tracking cities with above and below English average gross value added, GVA, per employee in 2001, cities with above average are highly concentrated in the southeast of England, close proximity to London, or are cities with good connectivity to London. Cities with below average are highly concentrated in the north and west of England, and/or have poor connectivity to London. Gudgeon and Gibson, 2005, in a study for Belfast City, ably demonstrate how cities can increase their contribution to regional economic performance. They observe that the period of industrial decline is coming to an end, that the knowledge economy utilizes the trade and export of specialist services, and that cities are able to offer a productive platform for such services, effectively reversing the locational priorities of the industrial economy, repositioning centre cities as the renewed engines of growth. Tracing the changing role of Belfast in the economy of Northern Ireland, this work observes that improvements in the basic framework. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. 406 Greg Clark of Belfast's productivity is having the effect of increasing the city's contribution to regional economic performance by enabling it to become a locus for internationally traded services. A study undertaken at Erasmus University in Rotterdam, 2005, identified that cities are responding to the opportunities and challenges of globalization according to their emerging position in a new global typology of cities. An appealing feature of the Erasmus research is the recognition of distinctive development agendas for the cities in each group, recognizing their different territorial assets, immediate development imperatives, and competitive pressures. Clark, forthcoming, identifies one important aspect of new mobility within the economy and its interaction with cities. This work reflects upon the new clients and opportunities for cities created by increased mobility in the economy, citing the potential for international students, migrant knowledge workers, and mobile innovative entrepreneurs amongst others. The work highlights the role that ethnic and linguistic diversity can play, resulting from increased immigration, in promoting factors of growth such as innovation, trade, entrepreneurship, and quality of life. The work observes that factors of city openness can be identified which affect how successfully cities attract and retain diverse populations in order to embrace fully the advantages they bring. Competitiveness and governance in the city region. An important theme in metropolitan economic performance concerns the limitations of local administrative geography. Many cities have administrative boundaries that were defined and crystallized in previous periods when the economic geography of the city had a different scale and shape. The functional economic geography of today is often metropolitan or city-regional. The geography of public goods, supply and distribution chains, labor, housing, retail, property, investment, and other local service markets does not respect administrative boundaries. Travel to work areas, retail catchment areas, and others tend to cover much wider areas than core or central cities, and span multiple administrative boundaries in a variable geometry of overlapping spaces with different and blurred boundaries. This presents obvious coordination and leadership challenges. It also presents major challenges in designing and implementing policies at the most appropriate spatial scale. There is an important link between competitiveness and governance of metropolitan and city-regional economies. Economic governance is important at the metropolitan level to marshal effective territorial development strategies. There is a potential for competitiveness policies pursued at the local level to become zero-sum, or wasteful, at the level of functional urban regions when their impact is simply to increase intermunicipal competition within the functional region rather than to enhance the productivity and competitiveness of the region as a whole in the wider economy. Different kinds of policies work best at different spatial scales. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. Cities, regions, and metropolitan development agencies 407. What emerges is the imperative to pursue appropriate policies at different spatial scales and to make more interventions at the level of the functional urban region. The challenge is to try to develop city competitiveness policies that have regional coherence so as to both minimize unhelpful interregional competition, and to avoid displacement, where the impact of policies is merely to move an activity, job, or firm, from one part of the region to another with no net benefits, and the imperative to site new investments in optimal locations for regional impact. The difficulty of achieving this kind of regional coherence in economic development policies between cities and their outer suburbs, or outlying smaller cities and towns, is acute, and even more so in the fiscally empowered local governments of the USA without regional governments, than in the regionally empowered governments of some parts of Europe, and the centrally financed municipalities of the UK. The benefits of choosing a city-regional spatial scale for economic development are many, but include a better alignment of economic and political spaces, providing scope for alliances and cooperation between public sector and private sector organizations as well as NGOs and others whose primary geographical reach is not municipal. The city region enables integration of top-down, national and international, programs with bottom-up, local and regional, efforts. In the best examples, this can lead to effective local economic development, combined with strong national and intergovernmental support. City regions can offer a suitable scale for economic development and poverty alleviation to align with other key strategies and interventions, e.g. environment, transport, utilities, property, and land use. Finally, city-regional alliances can help avoid zero-sum and wasteful competition between neighbors who pursue the same potential investments and drive down the cost for business and contribution of businesses to local fiscal revenues. The city-regional approach is less likely to focus on narrow cost-based competition between neighboring municipalities and is more likely to promote policies that will help the whole city region become more competitive and productive in the international and open economy. Local and regional action, as well as national frameworks and policies, can add or detract from how these drivers function. Market failures and policy or coordination failures, including failures of leadership, can have important local and regional dimensions, especially where markets, e.g. a labor market or retail market, span multiple local administrative units, a region or metropolitan area. City-regional level action is required to support the drivers of growth, and overcome coordination and policy failures. So we turn our attention to one means of making the city-region work in practical ways. Development agencies. There is no common understanding, or rigid formula, of what a development agency is. No global census of development agencies has been downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. 408 Greg Clark undertaken, but there are probably more than 15,000 now worldwide, with more being created every month. They vary in size, scale, and function, and there have been different starting points. There has also been a continued process of reinventing development agencies in places where they already existed, changing their focus of intervention and tools applied, or disbanding the old generation of development agencies and creating new ones. The shift to city and regional growth policies in many countries of the OECD, rather than the pursuit of old-style regional policies seeking to address only the challenges of lagging regions, has given rise to a new expansion in the number of development agencies that exist. It is important to note that whilst development agencies are the products of national policies in some countries, this is not universally the case. In some countries, Italy for example, development agencies are the products of local bottom-up efforts which are not subject to national coordination or planned programs of national resourcing. In the USA and Canada, most city and regional agencies are fostered by city and state/provincial governments acting with private sector partners, not by federal governments. In Mexico, federal government has played a key role in establishing development agencies. Whilst development agencies at city-regional level are less common in countries that have rigid regional political geographies, they are quite common in countries where there is no political regionalism. Not all development agencies play the same roles or do the same things. We can identify 4 different elements of development agency activity. Economic roles, where development agencies seek to build markets within their territories by acting within them. Leadership roles, where the development agencies play a key role in fostering a long-term plan and vision for the territory, galvanizing the instincts of multiple leaders, setting out a new future around which resource mobilization can coalesce. Governance and coordination roles, where the development agency helps to facilitate practical coordination towards the pursuit of the development strategy, helping to overcome the limitations of fragmented multiple jurisdictions and responsibilities in the public sector, and providing a means for practical engagement with the private and civic sectors. Implementation roles, where the development agency can assemble dedicated and capable teams to focus solely on pursuing the development strategy. As a quasi-governance vehicle, development agencies can offer a unique means to assemble both the resources, or assets, and the authorities, or permissions, required to undertake certain territorial development activities. In these roles, development agencies can become the means to overcome complex administrative geographies which may not align with the natural economic geographies that are the focus of. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. Cities, regions, and metropolitan development agencies. 409 Sound territorial development. Neighboring local and regional governments can work together through the development agencies, or simply sponsor projects that they undertake. Equally, the development agencies may play a role in pooling resources between different tiers of government: local, regional, state/provincial, national, federal, and between spheres of government, departments, agencies, authorities, commissions, educational institutions, and others. Lastly, they can play an important role in bringing together public, private, and civic sectors, either through joint ventures, partnerships, service agreements, compacts, or other vehicles. Most importantly, development agencies appear to offer a politically acceptable form of co-investment between otherwise disparate partners. Considering now the links between development agencies and city regions/metropolitan areas, it will be clear that there are some important potential links. To summarize these simply, we might observe that city regions have strong cooperation and governance imperatives that development agencies might assist with. City regions need to assemble economic and implementation tools that are not simply induced by existing institutional and constitutional arrangements, and do have to be invented to serve city regional geographies. Development agencies might do this. City regions have to construct leadership models and long-term visions and goals that are not normally provided by the political leadership of existing tiers of government. Development agencies might offer help here. Establishing development agencies purely as a governance vehicle for city regions with no metropolitan government is probably unwise, because development agencies need a parallel political and public/private alliance in place if they are to succeed, and because development agencies appear to succeed best when they can deliver tangible outcomes quickly. Development agencies can offer different and distinctive interventions on behalf of city regions, and some clarity about what they should do is required. Identifying what is required in terms of outcomes and then crafting the developing agency to meet such needs is very important. Clearly, the relationship with metropolitan government influences the effectiveness of development agencies. In assessing their effectiveness, the four roles defined above supply a useful framework. City regional development agencies with strong economic roles that also have active metropolitan governments can be very powerful, and tend to pursue major land use and asset management roles. That is, they are empowered on the economic roles of development agencies, but within a strategic framework set by metropolitan government. If they are the products of a city-regional coalition, they tend to focus more on working with business and investors and in setting in train some shared economic strategy. Critical in these are the skills of the people involved and the clarity of the agenda they are pursuing. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. 410 Greg Clark. Where metropolitan governments have been created, the leadership role in terms of policy or strategy setting is usually taken at the political level, and the role of the agency is more about leading on translating that agenda into definable and deliverable interventions. Where a city-regional coalition exists, the leadership role is essentially one of defining and building a common agenda between multiple parties, many of whom will be in competition with one another on some matters, and there will be more active mediation over agenda setting. In the context of metropolitan government, governance and coordination roles are generally operating at the level of coordination for implementation of defined development projects and interventions rather than for a wider quasi-governance role. However, where no metropolitan or regional government exists, development agencies can take on a developed governance role, which usually leads to the longer-term establishment of a regional commission or some such separate forum. The implementation role is strong under both conditions of weak and strong metropolitan government. However, it is within metropolitan governments, or in the isolated cases where state/provincial/regional government boundaries approximate well to city-regional spaces, that this can lead to a major tooling up of the development agency and the vesting of the agency with significant, and risky, responsibilities for interventions. In the context of city-regional coalitions, implementation roles are likely to be acquired more gradually as trust and confidence in the coalition develops, and as the development agency proves and builds its capacity. Conclusion: this paper is not meant as a scientific evaluation of how far development agencies can be an effective tool for supporting city-regional working. It aims to raise issues and questions that need to be considered, and it points to the need for more thorough research. The results of such may well appear with some frequency in the near future, because interest in metropolitan and city-regional development agencies is likely to grow. There are 3 reasons for this. They are: 1, means to make city-regional interventions without the large-scale costs of municipal reorganization, consolidation, and amalgamation. They are a clear means through which metropolitan government can take forward an economic agenda, which is essential to make the metropolitan concept work, but they also work to support collaboration between different spheres and tiers of government vertically and horizontally. They are potentially a means to overcome weak local investment regimes. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015. Cities, regions, and metropolitan development agencies. 411 development agencies are a means to tackle the basic challenges of metropolitan economies in terms of building market success and tackling market failures, addressing coordination, leadership, and policy failures, enhancing fixed assets and public goods, tackling weak investment regimes, and fostering the transition to a knowledge economy. Equally, there is some political attractiveness to development agencies in a metropolitan or city-regional context. They offer a means to test city-regional working without embarking on large-scale change. They can be time-limited, and they can be closed down quickly if necessary. In this context, they offer an incentive to untried city-regional working. References: Clark, G. Forthcoming, Cities, Openness, and the Competitive Advantage of Diversity, London. Gudgeon, G. and Gibson, N. 2005, The Case for Belfast, Belfast, Regional Forecasts Ltd. HMT/DTI/ODPM, 2002, Productivity in the UK 3, The Regional Dimension, London, FSO. Home Treasury, 2000, Productivity in the UK, The Evidence and the Government's Approach, London, Home Treasury. Parkinson, M., Clark, G., Hutchins, M., Simi, J. and Fairdonk, H., 2003, The Competitive Performance of Successful EU Cities, Where Do the Core Cities Stand? London, FSO. Parkinson, M., Hutchins, M., Simi, J., Dorling, D., Parks, A. and Turok, I., 2005, State of the Cities Report, Progress Report to the Sustainable Communities Summit, London, FSO, London. Van Winden, W., 2005, Globalization and Urban Competitiveness, Challenges for Different Types of Urban Regions, Rotterdam, Urecore. Downloaded from lec.sagepub.com at Wayne State University on December 13, 2015.